Do we need to go over anything first?
No, I think we're good.
No. Are you going to be able to get that to work, or
is it sharing for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
you guys can see it?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm the only one that can't see it.
Does it think you're still trying to share your screen?
No.
Oh, that's
We
weird.
can all see it, Greg.
Okay. Well, cool. Good enough. Just make sure. All right. Sweet. Well, yeah, we'll get started. So, if you just go to the second slide, Pat.
This one?
I can't see it, but the second slide. Yeah. So it's just a kind of an overview of what we're going to go over. Real quick, I'll just kind of give you an intro of myself. So I've been doing this job for 6 years. I'm going to be going into my 7th year. So this will be my 5th year here at Evo. Did a couple years at Vivint years ago. Glad I switched over. ADT's far better. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of like the start. So when I first came out, it seems like everybody has just a different learning curve. There's some guys that do really well. For me, my first week was rough. I'd never sold anything, had no idea what I was doing. So it took me 6 days to sell my first account, and that was grinding constantly. I probably knocked, 300, 400 doors to get my first sale. So it was just persistence. But for me, I saw everybody else around me selling. So that helped me because I knew if my friends could do it, I could do it. And it was just doing it over and over and over. And eventually you'll get the hang of it. The nice thing here is we've got the trainings. We didn't have any of this when I was doing it. So I was just kind of had to learn. They didn't help me too much. So you guys won't have that like kind of painful process that I did. So training as much as you can is gonna help a ton. And I've had some pretty good mentors throughout the last few years, especially here at Evo. There's some really well-trained sales guys that have helped me along the way. They're still here, so they're able to help you guys. So I've gotten to 200 counts a couple years, which is kind of cool. Kind of a nice benchmark. And I was going to share a few things first about how I got there, especially starting out. My first summer, I did like 45 accounts. So being able to, 4 times that. And if you can 4 times what you did your first year, you're probably going to 10 times your income because of the pay levels. So kind of how to make a ton of good money. But there's really 4 main things I want to go over on kind of the mindset of getting to, 200 accounts, but just getting to, for rookies, I think a good goal is always 100. If you can sell 100, you're going to be in the top 10. You're going to make really good money, and everybody's going to be wondering what you're doing because you're killing it. So you can see on here, we're going to go over a little bit routines and habits, and then we're going to go over how to become a top rookie or just a top rep in the company, top 10 rep, how to hit your goal, how to stay mentally checked in. And then we're going to go over some basics on how to learn the pitch, how I train the guys in our office how to pitch. And then we're going to give some guys some time to actually do their pitches. So we'll go to the next slide. And this is going to be on the routine and habits. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the book Atomic Habits, but before the summer, I'd really recommend you guys read it. It's by a guy named James Clear, and he kind of devoted his life to learning how habits are formed, how to break bad ones, and how to teach people how to make good habits and how they're going to succeed doing that. So a couple like just cool things that I took away from his book that I just wanted to share with you guys. We're really big on goals here. But what he says in his book is that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your standards. So what a goal is something that you put out in front of you, something that you're trying to achieve, and it should be a stretch. So you don't always know if you're going to hit that, but it's there and you're going to push yourself to do it. A standard is something that you call your baseline. And just for an example, if you typically get out of bed at 9 a.m., but your goal is 7 a.m., your standard is 9 a.m. So when things aren't going the right way, you're always going to fall to the level of your standard, and you're going to go back to getting up at 9 a.m., not 7 a.m. So the biggest thing is to set your standards at a level that is good with you, but something that's going to help you achieve those goals. So for instance, if you want to get up at 7 a.m., you have to make that your standard, something you don't deviate from. And then your goal might be to hit it at 6, but if your standard is 7, then you don't fall past that. And then a goal, of course, it's something that we want to achieve. So it's something that we have to work towards, but we're always going to fall back to our worst self in a bad situation. So we want to build ourselves up to make us hit that level. So the way that we can make our habits, our standards higher is through our habits and our routine. So there's 3 things that I do every day in the summer that I think help me hit my goals. So if you can go to the next slide, you'll see on here the 3 things that I do is I make my bed every morning. I work out, and then I keep a journal. So the reason that I make my bed every day, there's a whole book on this. It's called Make Your Bed. I didn't write down the author's name, but he is an ex-Navy SEAL. So all you guys have probably heard of the Navy SEALs. They're arguably like the best trained military force in the world. And when they go through training, the first thing they have to do is make their bed. And they have one of their officers come in, they look at it. If it's not perfectly made, they rip the sheets off and make them redo it. And they have to redo it until they get it done right. And the reason that they do that is so they're doing something successful, and they're finishing a task before anything else is done. And that gives you a sense of achievement. And then, of course, the benefit at night is, well, you come home and you got a nice bed that's made. But the reason they have you do that is because they want you to start your day off with a task that's completed. So I always make my bed. The second thing is working out or doing something. Working out or doing something that is going to make you kickstart your day. So just for me, there's different levels for every person. I've tried different splits. In my opinion, I work out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The reason I do that is because the summer is kind of long. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to pace yourself. And I use my Tuesdays and Thursdays as kind of a personal day. If I have stuff that I need to get done, I'll do it. And then if I just want some family time with my wife or my dog, we'll go do something fun. But I would encourage you guys to come up with a routine with your workouts and then your days, so you have something that's sustainable. That's the biggest thing, and we'll talk about it in a second. But being able to do the same thing throughout the whole summer in week 19 that you did in week 1 is what's going to hit your goal. So that's why I structure it like that. You can do whatever you want, but that's something that I found to work really well. And then the third thing is keeping a journal. So what I do before I hit the doors at some point in the morning, I sit down for 5 minutes. It's not long, but I keep a journal. So the things that I put in it is I do my top 3 goals for the summer. One of those is always how many I want to sell for the summer. And then I'll have other things. It might be something mental, might be spiritual, might be physical. But one of those goals is always how much I want to sell. In the summer, you kind of want to drop everything else that's going on around you and just think about your goal. We're only out here for like 4 months, 5 months at the most. And so you can just double down on your goal. And the thing that you think about most of the time is what you get most of the time. So make sure to have that goal. The next thing is I write something down that I did good from the day before, because that's going to make me feel good and it can kind of relive my day, think about it a little bit. And so I tell myself something good. And then the next thing is I write something down that I need to improve on. And I think anybody that sold, it doesn't matter. You can sell 200, 300, the guys that have sold the most, they still mess up on doors where they're like, there's something I could have changed on one of these doors that could have helped me get a sale. And that's what I write down on the one that I got the closest with that I didn't close, that I can try to work on today when I'm out selling. That's going to hopefully get me another sale. And I do that every single day throughout the year. So hopefully by the end of the summer, I can't think of many things I need to improve on because I keep closing them, but there's always something. So have something you improve on. And then I write down my goal for the day. Of course, we do goals in the meeting, and we talk about them constantly, but I want to internalize it. So I'm going to write it down personally. And then the last thing, and honestly, to me, one of the most important is I'll write down my top 3 things I'm grateful for. The reason I do that is because the summer is kind of a grind. You can get kind of lost in all the stuff that goes on that is not going your way. And when you kind of feel burnt out, if you can just sit down for a minute, think about the things you're grateful for, all the crap you're going through doesn't really feel that bad because you have these things that you're grateful for. And if you can reflect on that every morning before the doors, it's going to kind of reset your mind of, hey, I'm going to go out and work hard because I have these things that I'm thankful for. So that's what I do. I would encourage everybody to make some type of a journal. And I like including these 5 things. You can do whatever you want, but it's worked really well for me. And some other guys told me to do this when I started, and that's why I did it. So just a couple little things that I thought of just that go along with this. One, the summer's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you guys have been on blitzes, we're out there for a week, that's a sprint. But instead of doing 1, that's like doing 1 mile, we're doing 20, right? 20 weeks. So 20 miles, if you want to say. So you want to use your routine to help you, and you want to help you sell yourself or sell one account a day. And we'll talk about that in a minute. If you can sell 1 a day, and remember this, you get a payday. So 1 a day is a payday. And it's kind of nice. Paydays are pretty cool, especially here because they're huge. And then the last thing is you want to make 1 a day your standard, like we just talked about, not your goal. So for me, my goal is usually 2 or 3 or something like that. I don't always hit it. But if I go home and I haven't sold 1, I'm not very happy because that's my standard. I always want to sell 1, and you guys should be the same way. If you can sell 1, you should at least be satisfied with yourself that, hey, I'm going to get money. I'm going to make money, but you want to make that your standard. Never be satisfied without selling 1. And just a couple of things that I think will help with that. One, for me, like my car group, they don't like me because I'm always knocking late because I want to knock until I sell, right? Or I sell more than 1. So you want to knock until 9 p.m. or whenever your car group driver is asking for pins. And then try to be the one that gets the first sale. Kind of make it a challenge for yourself. And you guys might have already heard this, but if you can sell one, the best time to sell an account is after you sell. So if you can sell one early, the chance of you selling another one is really, really high. And the last thing that I was just going to go over on this, in that book, Atomic Habits, they talk about it. But if you get 1% better every single day, by the end of a year, 365 days, you will be 37 times better than you were at the beginning. So if you think about it, if you could sell one account the first week, right? And you can get 37 times better. I didn't even do the math on that, but if you knocked for a full year, you would probably sell 200 accounts, something like that. So it's kind of crazy to think about it. It's just small incremental steps along the way. But we'll go to the next slide. And well, we kind of talked about this. So we'll go to the next slide, actually. So this is how to become the top. And there's kind of a formula that I learned when I first started on how to become the top. So the first one is you want to try to outwork everybody. So if you can outwork everyone in your office, you're halfway to becoming the top rookie, top rep. There's no substitute for hard work. It doesn't matter how good your skills are. You have to put in the reps because this is this job is a law of averages, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the second part, and the way to make your success faster, is to train. And so that's the other half of it. If you can out-train everybody, then you're halfway there. And what we notice sometimes is there'll be guys that don't train a lot, but they work super hard. So they only hit half their potential, or they train hard, but they don't actually work on the doors and they hit half their potential. So all you got to do is combine the two. Work super hard when you're on the doors, train hard when you're off the doors, and then you dominate. And that's how you become the top. Some of the guys that I just think of this last year, Jet's on here. He killed it. He was out for only a few weeks. And I didn't know him in the summer, but I can only imagine he outworked and outtrained everybody, and he sold more than half the rookies that were out for the whole summer. So he's a good guy to maybe talk to about his summer. But you got to outwork and outtrain. And a couple ways to do that is role play with your roommates, with your managers. And then I think really important is the guys that are doing better than you. My first summer, there was the top rookie. We were roommates. He's gone on to do some pretty crazy things now. But I would sit and just pick his brain for like 30 minutes every single night of how he sold. And his method was way different than mine. So I got some kind of advice that maybe didn't help me a ton, but it still gave me an idea of what a top rookie's mindset is. And I went on to do pretty well, and then I've done really well after learning it. But I think that helps a lot. And the last thing, I had already mentioned this, but what we focus on most of the time is what we get most of the time. So in the summer, since we're only out there 4 months, focus on your goal. And if you focus on it, you're going to hit it. So we'll go to the next slide here. But we're going to break it down for a minute. So it seems kind of crazy. You think about selling 100 accounts. If you've already sold one, you see how much work it takes to get one. But it really is not that crazy to go sell 100 accounts. So the way that I always hit my goals, and I kind of build it out, is I reverse engineer it. So let's just take 100 sales, because if you're a rookie and you sell 100 sales, you're going to kill it. So we have 20 weeks in the summer. So we're just going to do some math. We're going to divide that by the 6 days we knock a week. That means we have 120 knocking days. So that's a good thing. That means we have to sell less than one account a day to hit our goal. And that doesn't include preseason. But what I do next is I'll break it down into a week. So now I know we have 20 weeks. We want to sell 100. We divide that, we get 5. So I need to sell 5 accounts a week. So that gives me one day I can bagel a week, still hit my goal. And a lot of times you're going to have a day where you hit 2 or maybe 3, and then you can exceed it. But looking at it, you only need to sell 0.83 sales per day. So if you can have 5 a week and you can be super, super consistent because you have really good habits, you have a really good routine, you've out-trained, you've outworked, then you're going to hit that goal. And the cool thing about a lot of us is we're doing preseason trips. So that's just going to help a buffer for a little bit of attrition or anything else that comes up along the way. If you had a slow start or a slow patch in the summer, that's going to help us. So use the preseason. We have a couple more trips left to hit your goal. And we'll go to the next slide. But to hit that goal, there's a couple things that we can do to kind of focus on it. So to kind of give you guys an example, with this job, it's a little bit different than, let's say, working at like McDonald's or if you guys know Ron Highshaw, he worked at like Chick-fil-A or somewhere out there. What's different about it is when you're doing a job like at a fast food restaurant, you'll go through the day and you do a task, you have a task, and you accomplish that task typically in a pretty short amount of time, but you see a result really quickly. And you can see yourself progressing. And so it gives you a sense of reward. You feel good because you've done it and you've seen yourself get something finished. Just like if you're in school and you write a paper, you get a page of the 5-page done, you feel good because you see yourself getting somewhere. This job's a little bit different. So you have no idea where you're at on getting a sale when you're knocking doors unless you track it. You can knock 50 doors and you've gotten nowhere, no callback. No one's even listened to half your pitch, but you might be one door away from getting the sale and you give up right before you get to that. And we don't want that because obviously we want to sell. So there's a way that I found to help myself and then a lot of our rookies just stay accountable on how they're doing with their sales by tracking it. So what we have everybody do on our team is we download an app. If you're horrible with your phone, we brick ours too. So you can only use a few apps, but we use this app. It's called Counter Plus. So if you go to the Play Store or the Apple Store, download that. And it just has just blank counter. So I have zeros on it. And what I do is I track my numbers of the doors that I'm knocking. So the 3 things I track is the people that I pitch, not doors I knock. Doors I knock don't get me anywhere, but people that I pitch that are qualified. So they have to be a decision maker or at least a spouse that I've gotten my pitch out to. And then the houses that I get into, and then the sales that I get. So the reason I do that is one, you're going to see improvement from the summer. So when I started doing this, I think I started my first month tracking this. He was the top rep at Vivint for like 15 years, which is kind of crazy. But this is something he did. So I'm like, if he's doing it, I need to do it. But you'll see improvement. So your first week, you might go out and you might pitch 50 doors and you get into 2 houses and you get a sale. So you feel awesome. And it might be similar throughout that week, but the next week you've learned a little bit. And so you pitch 45 doors, you get into 3 houses and you sell 1. And so you can see yourself improving a little bit. And if you do this over and over and over for 10 weeks, you'll probably take your average from maybe 50 doors down to 25 doors. And so you'll see the improvement, but it keeps you honest. So what I've noticed is when I'm having a bad day, either it's hot, it's raining, I'm not feeling like I'm getting anywhere. what I do is I'll just pull up my app and I'll look at it and I'll see how many people I've talked to. Typically, I've only talked to like 4 or 5 people, and I'm not quite good enough to sell 1 in 5. My average is like 1 in 10. So I know, well, shoot, I just need to go knock 5 more doors and talk to 5 more people, and I'm probably going to get a sale. So for me, it keeps myself honest. I know exactly how hard I'm working because I know how many people I'm talking to. And then I know how close I am to my goal because I know my ratio. So mine's 10. What's crazy, I've had many days where I've been knocking and it might be 7:30, maybe even 8 o'clock. I pull up my app because I'm running out of time, and I've talked to 9 people. And I'm like, well, shoot, I just need 2 or 3 more good pitches and I'm going to sell. And it is just like clockwork. So this job is a law of averages. It's 99% of the time, if I hit over that 10 doors that I've knocked, I get a sale every time. So it helps you. One, what I would do is keep a spreadsheet, and I haven't done it. I didn't do it last year, I guess, but every other year I've done it. And I would keep a ratio. So I would just pull up my Excel spreadsheet on my phone at night when I'm getting in the car or driving back home. And I just put the numbers in, and I tracked it, had a formula. So I knew my ratio. And over the last 3 years, mine has been 10, and every 10 doors I can get a sale. But it's going to help you guys because you'll know how much work you need to do to get a sale. And then it keeps you honest and keeps you checked in because every door that you knock now that you put on that app, that's like hitting a goal like you would when you make a sandwich at Subway or McDonald's because you just did something, you completed a task. That's why I like doing it. And one thing that I will say that I think is kind of cool is this works every single time, but it only works if you work. So like I was saying before, you can't take the work away. You have to do it. It's just part of the process. So we can go to the next slide. I guess we should have been on this one, but it just has a breakdown. If you guys can look at it. If you need some help with the math, it's pretty easy. So what I always do, I have the 3 things I look at. The pitches that I do, the homes I get into, and then the sales that I make. So I'll do a ratio of the homes that I pitch to the homes I get into. For me, it just depends. But if I'm getting into 2 houses, out of 10, that's 20%. That usually gets me a sale. And for the homes, like you can see, every 2 houses I get into, I get a sale. I usually can get into 1 in 5 doors as well, so I get about 20%. So it helps me a little bit. Just keep in mind, I know even if I've knocked 9 doors, but I've only gotten into 0 houses, I might need to knock 11 so I can get in the next 2 to get a sale. But it helps me keep myself honest. So I would recommend keeping track of that. That's going to help you guys a little bit, hopefully. So just to kind of recap on that stuff real quick, just remember the main things. You want to make sure that you have a good routine, right? You want to make good habits. You want to be out working everybody. You want to be out training everybody. You want to make sure you've broken down your goal so you know exactly what you need to do to get a sale. And then I strongly encourage you guys track your doors because you'll be far more successful than the guys that don't track it. If you don't have something to measure, you never know how much better you're getting. So track what you're doing. So that's kind of my little tidbit on how to become a top rep, right? How to sell 100, how to sell 200. If you want to know how to sell 300, ask Sean. He would be the guy for that. But I know what you have to do to sell 200. So that's my little tidbit. But the main training today, so we're going to be going over how to learn just the basic pitch. So everybody should know the pitch. Well, let's see. Well, it's on here, so you guys are cheating already. I was going to have somebody tell us. So you got the 5 points. You got the who you are, the what you're doing, the deal. So it's what's in it for them, what's in it for us, the pullback, and then last but not least, and the most important thing is the transition. You have to move the sale forward. If you don't, the customer is going to come up with a little smoke screen and then the sale's dead. So we have to keep them moving forward. So we're going to go through a few things. One is some easy ways to learn the pitch and just some things that I think will help you guys get a better pitch that's going to engage the customer a little bit more. So if you go to the next slide, nobody probably really needs a ton of help with who you are. That one's pretty easy. That's, hey, I'm Greg. I'm with ADT, right? That one's pretty simple. So that's just your name and who you're with. But the next part is the what you're doing. In my experience from all the guys that we've trained, this is the portion that they typically skip and they go straight into the deal without giving any value on the what you're doing. So the way that I think of the what you're doing portion, it's like a teaser trailer to a movie. You want to give the customer just a little snippet of what you're doing to get their interest. So they're going to listen to you for another 2 minutes. And if you can get that extra 2 minutes, you can get through the rest of your pitch, and then you can transition to the next portion where you're still building a ton of interest. So the ways that I do this and the way that I build interest is, one, I'll show the app. So either taking the ADT app and just showing them on the phone how it works. When I do that, I'll talk about one of the benefits of each part of the app. So the parts that I talk about is, I am pretty big on selling cameras. That's my number one thing I sell. So I start with the cameras and I show them the clarity of them, the two-way talk, the night vision, the recording, just a basic overview. And so I'm probably talking about the camera for 15 seconds. It's not long, but I'm just spitting out a few benefits that customers love. Then I talk about the alarm real quick, show how it's on the phone, how it's easy to arm it and disarm it. And then I talk about the smart home stuff. So I show them how you can lock the door on your phone, how you can close the garage on your phone from anywhere, change your thermostat if you need to. And then I always loop it back to the cameras because that's what I always start my pitch on. After I do that, I like to show them the slick, and I like them to hold it in their hand, because if they're holding it, they got to give it back to me. So at least I have their attention for a little bit longer. So I give them something so they're engaged. And the what you're doing portion, it's a chance for you guys to find a hot button. What a hot button is something that the customer is interested in. The way we do that, most customers aren't going to come out and say, oh yeah, I've been thinking about cameras, but you can kind of gauge based on their body language and if just the way that they're engaged on that. And most of the time it's going to be, for me, it's cameras. That's what people want. But you want to find a hot button, and then you can base your whole pitch based on that hot button. So you're selling them on the thing they want instead of wasting time on things they don't care about. And then the last thing is you want to get them just interested enough so you can transition to the next part of your pitch or the presentation. So that's a little bit on the what you're doing. We'll go to the next slide and talk about the deal a little bit. I do think most people jump to the deal, and they usually do pretty well on getting the what's in it for the customer, because it is pretty simple. If we're financing the customer, we're fronting the cost of the equipment. They can get the whole setup. They don't have to pay anything to start it. Or if we're doing ADT only, we pay for it. We'll pay for the whole system, everything, install, activation, equipment, we're covering it. And we want to emphasize that because if there's not a good deal and the customer is going to think they can just hold off for a little bit longer, they can do it whenever they want. And that doesn't build any urgency. So we have to have a good deal so their urgency is up. So they're going to want to do it today with us. One thing to remember, and one line that had helped me when I started, is you have to answer 3 questions in the customer's mind when you're selling them. So the first one is you have to sell them on why the company, which ADT is a pretty easy one because it's the biggest, the best, we have the best equipment, everything's great, but you still have to sell them on the company. You have to sell them on why you as a person is somebody they want to do business with. And then why now. And the now part is here in the deal. So we have to make it a good deal. But if we tell them what's in it for them and we tell them this amazing deal and we skip this next portion, the what's in it for us, then it sounds too good to be true and it starts to sound like a scam. They don't believe you anymore. So you have to hit this what's in it for us. And what's in it for us is we need some free advertising. You can make up whatever type of pitch you want for it. But mine is all I say is, hey, we're going to cover all the upfront cost of your equipment. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to get an ADT sign in the front of your yard because we know all your neighbors out here, they've got older cameras. There's some new move-ins in this area. We want all of them to update their cameras with ADT, and we want all the new move-ins to end up going with ADT as well. So we use you as an advertising home, hoping that they're going to end up going with it as well. And so it makes sense in the customer's mind what's in it for them and what's in it for us to help them out. So that's the deal. And then the pullback and the transition, in my opinion, is the most important, right? Once we've told the customer all this cool stuff, they're thinking it sounds pretty good. And people want what they can't have. So we want to take the deal away from them for a minute. So the way we do that is we tell them, hey, I know this stuff sounds great. You have to qualify for it. The house has to qualify. They've been kind of picky on a few of these, but assuming it does qualify, it's a no-brainer because we take care of everything for you. So I make sure they know I say the word qualify. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 times just in my pitch. And once I get them kind of hooked on that qualify, a lot of times they'll ask, well, hey, how do I qualify? They ask that. Now I've got them on the hook, and I can use what we use as a qual card, but I hold that in front of them. I say, hey, I'll write on the back of this and I'll leave that with you. But now they know they've got to fill out this qual card to see if they qualify. So I can take them through my whole process to get to the price drop before they know what they're gonna if they're gonna qualify. So they're gonna listen to me. So I make the qualifying a big deal. The last part is the transition. What's crazy about this is you could literally screw up every single portion of the pitch, but transition perfectly, and you could still get a sale. If you don't do that, the customer doesn't know the next step. So if you stand there and you say, hey, you just have to qualify for the system, that's it. The next thing they're going to say is, hey, do you have a card or do you have some literature? Because they don't know the next step. But we're professionals. We know the next step. And the next step is to get them into the walkthrough. And then we can take them through the process. But that's it. So we're going to have a couple role plays here. But before we go do that, I just want you guys to think about being the customer for a minute. So if you have a customer or you're having somebody knock on your house, the first thing that you think is, who is it, right? And the best way to overcome any objection is to bring it up first. So as the salesman, we're going to tell them who we are before they can ask. And then in the customer's mind, if you tell them who you are, they're going to think, well, what is this guy doing on my doorstep? But before they ask that, we're going to tell them. So we tell them exactly what we're doing. And now that they know who we are and what we're doing, now they're going to want to know, well, this sounds kind of cool. What's the deal? And now we tell them, right? We tell them the deal before they've asked. And once we've done that, everything sounds really good. They know exactly what they would be getting. They know who you are. They know how cool the deal is. And that's why we want to take it away from them. We want to pull back a little bit. So that way they don't know if they get it. So we have them on the hook. And that's going to lead us into our transition. And as long as we're moving it forward, the sale is going to go forward. And then we can get into the walkthrough. So hopefully that helps a little bit. When I had somebody knock on my door the first time, it helped me, right? I think all these things that I'm doing as a salesman, when I'm getting sold, if I have a good salesman show up, or I'm going to buy a car and they do their process perfect, I kind of like to nitpick their process in my mind after. I think, hey, what did this guy do really well? How did he sell me? And a lot of it comes back to just bringing the sale, making it move forward. So the biggest thing I can tell you guys, and the thing that I think most rookies struggle with, is the transition and just moving the sale forward throughout the whole process. But if you guys have like a little notepad, we're going to do some role plays here in just a second. But the way that I think the easiest way to learn a pitch is to come up with a 5-sentence pitch. So I don't know if he's on here tonight. Caleb Kelsey was one of our top rookies. He sold like, I don't know, 70 accounts or something in like 3 months. He killed it. And his whole thing was, hey, I want to keep it as simple and basic as possible. So I helped him write out a 5-sentence pitch. And his whole first day, he was saying his pitch in 5 sentences, and he sold. And then the next day, he said his pitch in 5 sentences and maybe added on 1 line, and he sold again. And then the next day, he added on another line to that 6 sentences, and he sold again, and he sold again, and he just kept selling. And that's because he memorized his pitch perfect, because it was so basic. And since it was so easy, the customer thought it was so easy to understand it. They bought from him. So I'm going to do my pitch really quick in a 5-sentence pitch, so you guys see how easy it is to understand it. So when I knock on the door, if I do a 5-sentence pitch, I say, hey, I'm Greg with ADT. That's sentence 1. I say, we've gotten some calls about packages going missing off doorsteps, people getting into car doors. So we're adding the cameras to the homes. That's sentence 2. And then I say, we're looking for a couple advertising homes. If the house qualifies, we'll cover all the upfront costs to get it in. And we would just want to put an ADT sign in your front yard so we get some free advertising. Sentence 3. And then I say, you just have to qualify. If you qualify, it's a no-brainer, because we'll cover all the upfront costs to get it in here. Sentence 4. And then I say, we use the qual cards. So I pull out my qual card and I say, I'll write on the back of this and I'll leave it with you. So the only thing you have to have, and I have them holding the little pamphlet, is the panel. And as long as you have that, you pick and choose what you want. And then I transition to doing the cameras or in the house. But that's it. That's 5 sentences. It's so easy. You should be able to say it in your sleep. So one of the things that all you guys should do between now and next week is write out your pitch in 5 sentences, memorize it because it's easy. Say it 2 times a day. So that way you have it memorized by next week. And by the time you hit summer, you're hitting the ground running. So you can have a 10-sentence pitch and you'll sell even more. But hopefully that helps a little bit. So we're going to have a few people do a little bit of a role play here. We don't have a ton of time. And Brad, did you have somebody in mind from last year that you think would be good to give their pitch?
Let me look who's on here real quick. There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
While I'm looking, piggybacking on that, Sean will remember this guy. Dan will remember this guy. We had a kid, not salesman like, but that's all he did all summer. Very simple 5 pitch. Hey, my name's Roy. You put a sign out. We do free setup, free connection install. It gives us advertising. You pay for the monitoring. And it's in a circle. He would say that 12 times, and then finally they're like, okay. So just keeping it super simple. Who's on here?
You missed one thing Roy did. He he would just circle an ADC sign with his finger as he did it.
Yep.
He's like, just keep this, and then he would say, keep this sign out, and he would do the same pitch, and he would circle the sign with his finger, and he sold his first year 100 accounts, 100.
Yeah, he funded 100.
Yep, which is great.
How about we have TJ pitch us? He's good.
Sure, I would love to. Who would like to be my customer, or do we just want me to spit out my pitch? Hello?
I can be your customer if you want.
Sure. All right, knock, knock, knock.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. You must be the boss of the house,
Yeah, I am.
at least most days. I'm just teasing. I have a 2-year-old running around, so he runs the house. Reason why I wanted to catch you. My job's a lot different from the sales reps. I work in ADT's marketing, so I'm in charge of ADT signs like a lot of the neighbors have out. How long is it you've been in the neighborhood for?
We moved in like 6 months ago.
Oh, cool. Not too crazy long. Have you met many of the neighbors yet?
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah, you have super cool neighbors. So long story short, right now we've had a lot more calls than we ever have, especially this last couple months. I'm sure you've noticed a lot more of your neighbors have been getting alarming cameras. It's my job to make sure they buy from us, not somebody else. Okay. So we're doing a program. It's actually super, super simple. We want to make your home a model home for ADT. Okay. As long as you're willing to keep our little ADT sign out in front of the house, what we found is when neighbors drive through here and see ADT, 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 who do you think the rest of your neighbors call?
ADT.
Exactly. You can do my job for me. So as long as you're willing to keep the little ADT sign out in front of the house, we cover the cost to pay for all the equipment, the install fee, and the warranty. We just ask 3 things from you. Okay. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Number 1, don't hit the sign with the lawnmower, right? Just make sure people can see it from the road. 2, when you have neighbors ask later, just be a little professional. Don't brag to your neighbors about the deal that we gave you, because what do you think your neighbors are going to want?
Same deal.
They're going to want the same deal, okay? And lastly, we just ask you guys keep it connected that way it works, okay? It kind of depends on what you want, but have you ever had an alarm before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, and those old ones, I'm sure you've seen them. They're terrible. You had to run inside and punch in a code every time, and boom, now I'm on to equipment.
Okay.
So I don't know how far you want me to go, but that's the pitch portion.
I want you to get Greg's social for us.
Hold on.
Just kidding.
Let me merge into Pat. Pat, can you look it up?
I thought that was great. The one thing that I thought that that I like to add that is in between the lines of a good first pitch is I always say a good first pitch in the first 30 seconds, you get 3 head nods. You did a lot of things where I was like feeling like, okay, yeah, that you're getting them to nod their head to agree to things. And if you can get people to agree, they're understanding what you're doing, what's in it for them, like all those points that Greg made. They're the person, you get a head nod from them on each of those, which is important.
Yeah, just some validation from the customer. Keeps them, they're engaged at that point. That's good. Hey, Jet's on here. Maybe he'll give his pitch real quick so you guys can get. Jet, are you up to giving your pitch?
Yeah, I am. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm just on a little family vacation. Give me a sec. I'm gonna put my AirPods in.
Okay. Already playing after work last week, huh? Or this week?
Yeah, seriously. Except for our car broke down on this road trip, so we're kind of just middle of nowhere in Wyoming at a little motel. But
No.
yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second.
And for all the rookies on here, just take some notes on what they're doing. What's interesting about pitches, everybody says something a little bit different. And sometimes we even say the points in different at different times, but we all have those 5 points in our pitch, every single one of them. If you don't have one of those, it's not going to make sense to the customer. So they're always going to have those 5 points every single time.
Okay, you, Greg, you're my homeowner.
Okay.
Okay. Knock, knock, knock.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Are you the owner of this place?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, sweet. I'm Jet. I'm here with ADT, as you can see with my hat. I don't know if you've noticed me out here in the area. Been out here just the last couple of days. Originally, we got called out here just because we had a few more issues with people getting into unlocked car doors and porch pirating issues. You know how that typically is a problem right after Christmas and at the new year. So what we're doing to accommodate for that, just to help the neighborhood stay safe, because for the most part, this is a pretty safe neighborhood, I'm sure, as you would agree with me on.
Mhm.
We're just going to be doing a little bit of advertising out here. So you see this little blue ADT sign. I'll show them a picture on my iPad. I came to your house specifically to see if you'd be cool with us just putting out one of these little blue ADT signs. Your neighbors, the Johnsons down the street, Rick and Joanna, I just got done helping them out. They're going to be helping us advertise. We're going to be probably doing 3 or 4, depending on how many good looks we see. We're just going to put out a blue ADT sign in the front of your yard. That way your neighbors can have the surety that this neighborhood is staying safe and secure, for one. For two, if anyone needs cameras in the area, they can call and order cameras over the phone from the new number that's on the sign. And for three, even sometimes just a sign can be a great deterrent. So we'll put that sign in your yard. And then to avoid false advertising, because we can't just have you false advertise, that makes us look bad and it doesn't give you the best look either. What we do to accommodate for that is just we cover the cost of a basic system. So what that entails, I see you have this Ring doorbell camera. We actually used to use Ring. Since we've just updated using the Google products, just because we found them and our customers have found them to be a lot more useful. But we'll give you just the basics. We'll pay for a 7-inch command panel. This is where you can arm and disarm your system. Can arm and disarm your system from the panel or from your phone on the app. We'll give you these sensors on that will go right on your doors. We'll put it's about this big. I zoom in on my iPad showing them. We'll put this block right here on the inside of your door, and then I show them right here on this door. Can I show you real quick? And then the little guy will just go on the other side of your door. Do you mind if I just get in on your, just show you, just so I can show you? That point,
Sure.
I'm mostly in the house. If I'm not in the house, then I'm just saying, then we'll give you these sensors. That way you can know when your doors are being opened, and you can be away and you can know what's going on in your house. Now, this all sounds great, but this is all only if ADT approves of your house to be one of our advertisement homes. And so to do that, I'll just get the address and make sure ADT sees that there's going to be enough foot traffic and car traffic right here. With you being on the corner, lots of cars are slowing down right at this stop sign. So they see that this house has the ADT system that we're advertising. So do you mind if I just take 2 seconds to see if ADT approves this house? You got a place I could maybe set my iPad down real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sweet. That's kind of a rough idea of what I say.
Oh. Yeah, and it's harder when you're doing a role play, especially you're not at the house. It's harder, but you can notice. So his pitch is a little different than TJ's. Everybody's is slightly different, but he hits all the points. There's a good transition, and the smoother your transition, the easier it is to sell because you're making it seamless. But you can kind of see the differences in them. So we got 2 good pitches. Brad, were there any rookies you wanted to pitch, or was that like more of them to see some of the vets? How they,
Yeah,
how they...
more to see. That's probably good. Next
Okay.
week I'm gonna go over transitions actually into the home, so I'll have to call a couple of you out.
Cool. Yeah, the last thing I have for you guys, so just a couple like little homework items. One, it's never too early to start thinking about the summer, and honestly, we're only like 2 months away, so I mean it's coming up pretty quick. But you want to have your daily routine planned out. So I would start thinking about what you're going to do in the morning before the doors. It's important to do that too. If you sleep in till 11:30 and then you roll out of bed, jump in the shower for 10 minutes and show up at meeting at noon, and you have 30 minutes of morning time, and then you knock and you get home at 10 and you stay up till 4 a.m., it's going to become like you're just working and sleeping, and that's it, because there's nothing else that you're doing throughout the day. So if you have a good routine in the morning, it's going to make it like you're actually living a pretty cool life because you're doing so many fun things. So I would urge you to make a few like habits, kind of come up with the routine that you want. And instead of starting on day one when it gets hard out there, start now. So you already have the routine built over 2 months. It takes a while to make a habit. So if you have 2 months to build it, it's going to already be a habit by the time you hit summer. So it's going to make it easier. And then the second thing is write out your pitch. So if you haven't done it already, make your 5-sentence pitch. You can add to it if you want to. And then I would start saying it 2 times a day, just out loud. If you say it in your head, it doesn't have the same impact as if you say it out loud, because it's harder to talk out loud, and that's how you're talking on the doors. Say it in the morning once, say it at night. That should take you a minute to do it because it's 5 sentences, but you'll have it perfectly memorized because when you hit the doors, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit harder when you have a customer standing there with the dog barking and a kid screaming, trying to say your pitch. But if you have it down perfect on your own, you're going to say it there. So those are the 2 things that I would say you guys should do between this week and next week, and it'll just get you a little bit more prepared for the summer. But that's all I've got. Brad, is there anything else you wanted to go over?
No, man, you rocked that. Thank you, Greg. Anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you.
I just want to know how I can be as handsome as you on the doors, Greg.
If you're talking about the picture, that was not on the doors earlier. I don't know what that was. Dan or somebody that
It's
took
the
that
beard
picture?
for sure. It seals the deal.
Work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
There we
Monday,
go.
Wednesday, Friday.
Hey, Greg, I actually had a question for you. Do you do your journal every day all year or just summer?
I don't do it every single day when it's not summer. In the summer I do though. Off season's kind of off season, but if I go on a preseason trip, I'm doing it. So last week when we were on preseason, I'm still writing down the things that I was like, man, I would have sold that one if it was middle of the summer because I'm on top of it. And so I go try and improve on that the next day. But I just do it in the summer. But I would say if everybody starts doing it now, they're going to get into a habit of it. For me, I don't feel I've done it for the last 6 years every day in the summer. So if I don't do it, I'm like, something's not right when I hit the doors because I know I didn't do it. So it's just internal, like it's like brushing my teeth.
And you do it in
because
the morning or when
in
you
the
do it?
morning, yeah, yeah. At some point, I mean, we have enough time in the morning. It takes me 5 minutes, but it just helps me kind of put the day behind me. If I had a bad day too, kind of like, well, I'm done with that day, and I can take one lesson away from it, and then I'm going to go into this day running because I'm going to change that one thing that I learned from yesterday.
Yeah, I was actually texting Sean. I feel like this training is a perfect get yourself out of a rut.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that routine, I'm sure, keeps you out of a rut, you know, reflecting on what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? My first summer, I would ask myself, would I have bought that door after every pitch? Just like, what did I do? Like, how did I sand? But I love the journal aspect of it. That's smart.
Yeah, it's just one little thing. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. So if you can make as many things go right, that you're putting in as the input, then you're going to keep it on track and you'll withstand the storm, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Anything else? All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks
right,
for time,
thanks.
Greg.
Yep. You're welcome. You guys
Thanks,
take care.
Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're the man, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All
You
right,
guys
Greg.
take care.
Love from Aaron.